Hi, this is Joel Gabe. Today we're going to be talking about the Bulldogs training camp. The Hamilton Bulldogs began training camp um, about a week ago, and they began camp with 42 players. That's approximately 10 more players than the year before under the Pierre Gauthier regime. The Habs extended tryouts to former first-round picks Dalton LeVay. They also extended an AHL, ECHL contract to Stéphane Chaput, who has been bouncing around the AHL for some time. They also offered a tryout to Michel Ouellette. He was a winger that played under Michel Therrien during his stint with the Pittsburgh Penguins. After a while, Ouellette got hurt, and he went to Europe. He tried coming back to North America and got a try with the Hamilton Bulldogs. Other interesting players. They invited a young defenseman, a 20-year-old defenseman who played with Prince Albert last year. His name was Antoine Corbin. He's a Quebec-born, but he moved out west because his parents wanted him to learn English and go to an English school. But Bill 101 actually prevented him from doing so. So he wasn't drafted, but he's a big boy, 6'3", 210 pounds. He's a pretty solid defenseman. They also invited tough defenseman Etienne Boutet. They also invited Kevin Gagné, a defenseman who played with the St. John Sea Dogs last year with fellow Canadians draftee and future star Nathan Beaulieu. Other guys that were actually brought in from the St. John Sea Dogs was Stephen McCauley, who's a centerman, an overager. He's 21 years old. And, they're bringing in guys that, may have the potential to play in the ECHL, the East Coast Hockey League, which is a step underneath the American Hockey League. Guys that, if people get hurt in the AHL, they can call up to the AHL from the ECHL. Last year they had issues with that where the Montreal Canadiens had a bunch of injuries and they had to call up players like Louis Leblanc, Andreas Enqvist, Gabriel Dumont, Frederic Saint-Denis, but also Hamilton Bulldogs were getting a lot of injuries with guys such as Brendan Nash, so on and so forth. So the camp has been very spirited. There's been a lot of toughness. There's been a couple of fights actually, and Bergevin and all of the pro scouts have been there themselves to watch the camp. 14 players were cut yesterday, including Michel Ouellette, Stéphane Chaput, Olivier Fortier, Ian Schultz, the second piece in the Lars Eller trade where we traded Halak. The Habs traded Halak. So Kevin Gagné and Antoine Corbin are still there. But the Bulldogs' defense is very, very young this year. In fact, the only veterans that they have are Frederic Saint-Denis and to some extent Brendan Nash, who only played one full season in the AHL after getting hurt last year. But the Bulldogs have a lot of really interesting, good young defensemen. They have Jared Tenorti, former captain of the London Knights. They have Nathan Beaulieu, former defenseman of the St. John Sea Dogs, both first-round picks. Morgan Ellis, who played for the Cataracts last season, won Memorial Cup. Very solid, steady two-way defenseman. He's hurt right now, but he'll be back. He's gonna be a hell of a good defenseman. I like to compare him a little bit to Ryan Suter. I don't think he's not gonna be as good offensively as Ryan Suter, but the same two-way game mold. Michael Berneval, the center we acquired for Ryan O'Byrne from Colorado. He was the captain of the Cataracts when they won Memorial Cup. He's been turning a lot of heads. Also, there's a couple of other interesting guys. Jonas Nattinen, the Finnish centerman. He's 6'3". He's a big boy. He, if all goes well, he could be a little bit similar to a guy like Martin Hansel, maybe a Radek Bonk. You have Steve Qualier, who's a winger that was injured 2 years ago He had a bad knee injury, and he was actually putting up pretty good offensive numbers in the NCAA. And last year he had a pretty good year. So he's 6'3", 6'4". He's big, he's rangy, he's quick. He's got a good offensive instinct. So he's got potential. Of course, there's Louis Leblanc. There's Brendan Gallagher, who played on Team Canada last year. The right winger who set actually records for the WHL Vancouver Giants last year. Small in stature but big in heart, this kid. So the Bulldogs have a lot of young talent. There's other guys that I actually have not mentioned. But they've got a few veterans. They've got Mike Blunden. They signed tough guys, Zach Stortini. So it'll be interesting to follow the Bulldogs from here on out because they're gonna have depth at the ECHL. They're gonna have depth at the AHL. But they're a young team, and most of their good young players on that team are defensemen. So it's good that new head coach Sylvain Lefebvre and Donald Dufresne are former NHL defensemen. So I think that's the thought process with the management is that yes, we don't have a lot of veterans on the Hamilton Bulldogs, but because our coaching staff is rich in experience, it'll make up for it. So look out for Bourneval, look out for Qualier, look out for Natanen, and look out for Gallagher. On the defensive side, look out for Morgan Ellis. I think this guy's highly underrated. Brendan Nash is a hell of a great offensive talent. People haven't really seen that. He's a bit older, and also he was hurt. Nathan Beaulieu, he's gonna need. A lot of people look at him and say this is a former first-round pick. He's a great skater, great offensive ability, but he's immature in a lot of ways in his game, especially defensively. So I think that we should it's good that there's a lockout for Nathan Beaulieu. He'll have time to develop a little bit more. So I think that there's also Greg Pattern. He was acquired in the Grabowski trade from Toronto. He's a big boy. He's about 23, 24 years old. He's more mature, and he's going to be a good, solid, physical defenseman. He'll be good for them this year, and I think that Tenorti will be good for them this year. So I mean, there's a lot of intrigue around the Bulldogs and a lot of excitement. So I'll stop by and give more updates on the Bulldogs going forward. I'm Joel Gabe. That's your Bulldogs report.